W.E.B Du Bois is short for William Edward Burghardt. When growing up in a mostly European American town, Du Bois was identified as a mulatto, yet was able to attend school freely with whites and was very much supported in his academic studies by his white teachers. Du Bois moved to Nashville, Tennessee in 1885 to attend Fisk University. There is where Du Bois began to analyze the deep troubles of racism. The way Du Bois was able to pay his way through school with money was from summer jobs, loans from friends, and scholarships. Once Du Bois was able to earn his bachelor's degree at Fisk, he then entered Harvard University. Du Bois was a co-founder of the NAACP and supported Pan-Africanism. Du Bois was one of the most important African-American activists in the first half of the 20th century. When in the 1900s he attended the first Pan-African conference held in London, he was elected vice president and wrote the Address to the Nations of the World. The Niagara Movement was included with the Pan-African Department.
After becoming a spokesperson, he then published his seminal work in 1903, The Souls of Black Folk, which was a collection of 14 essays that in the following years he vocally supported women's rights. When 1909 came along, he had co-founded the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and had served as editor of the magazine The Crisis.
Du Bois was a prolific writer and wrote 21 books, including 3 autobiographies and 5 novels. He edited 4 magazines, co-edited a magazine for children, and produced numerous articles and speeches. He was the voice of the Black community for many young African Americans. He was also a lifelong anti-war activist and was awarded the Lenin Peace Prize by USSR in 1959. Du Bois played a leading role in opposing racism in the United States. As a prominent member of the NAACP and the editor of its journal, Du Bois played an influential role in opposing racism. He waged a war against lynching, writing several pieces against the practice, including an in-depth report of the lynching of Jesse Washington titled Waco Horror. In 1917, 50 to 250 African Americans were massacred by whites due to the resentment caused by St. Louis industry hiring blacks to replace striking white workers. Du Bois commended the incident in his article, The Massacre of East St. Louis. Du Bois wrote numerous other pieces against racism in the U.S., which brought this topic to the forefront of the nation. Du Bois laid a foundation for the African American struggle for equal rights. Influential African American leader Booker T. Washington had struck a deal with Southern white leaders known as the Atlanta Compromise, by which blacks were to submit with white political rule in return for basic education and due process and law. Du Bois opposed to this and insisted on full civil rights and increased political representation. He co-founded and led the Niagara Movement, a black civil rights organization opposing the Atlanta Compromise. Du Bois's ideas ultimately prevailed over Booker T. Washington, marking the ascendancy of the African American fight for equal rights. William Edward Burghardt Du Bois received many honorary degrees. He was a forever life member of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Along with that, he was also a member of the National Institute of Art Letters. He was an amazing African American and was an intellectual individual of his period in America. He passed away on August 27, 1963, on the eve of the Civil Rights March in Washington, D.C. In other words, this was one day before the Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech. At the age of 95, also in the process of working on the Encyclopedia, he was given a state funeral and was known as a phenomenon.